Ladies and gentlemen, ears of corn, your eyes do not deceive you. It is not just I, Tom Poligastro, here joining you, but the illustrious gloves, Dennis Madden of
I wish
Radio.
I had the gloves.
I know, wouldn't that be cool?
Oh,
Nowadays, they're very important to have. They'd be good. Where are you without the gloves?
only one though. Only one.
That's true, man. Oh, shoot. Man, I am joined by Dennis Madden. Uh, and if I'm being honest with you, man, Dennis is uh, the reason I'm involved in any kind of, the reason I'm involved in any medium where I'm talking to people like they care. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't, man, Dennis was, dare I say, the lead of our old college radio show. You get that corn on 99.7 FM WVYC. And man, dude, shoot, just a lot of doors that have opened for me in my life are because of the keys that Dennis was kind enough to provide me, and I owe him a world of gratitude for that. And for that reason, not to get too sentimental too quickly, but it is really my honor to be joined by Dennis today. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Thank you for that kind introduction. But you can keep going about all the good things about me. I'm okay with that. We
Hey,
can let
man,
that be the whole show.
we got an hour to fit it all in, man. Rest
Yeah,
assured.
there's a lot. Trust me.
So I have to say, man, I don't necessarily want to start here, but only because it kind of already came up. I interviewed Charnel the other day,
Oh, really?
and I asked her to share some memories, and she brought up a couple about us in the radio show
Oh boy.
because she used to hop in right when our show was ending. She would be next, uh, but she also said like I remember something with you and Dennis and like Dennis's hands and his hands. And it took a quick second, but eventually I was just like, oh yeah, gloves. And she's like, yeah, that was it.
Not gonna live that one down. Even it comes up as hands. Like,
Oh man. So very quickly, just so it's not like this hanging chat on the whole conversation. This is one of those moments where like I'm always very harmless, but I'm not always very kind to Dennis. Like Dennis wore these football gloves to like catch a football, which is freaking awesome. Like in fairness to me, ironically enough, I think the only sport you don't want me on your team is probably baseball. I don't have the depth perception for baseball, but at the same time, like it's not like I'm a football stud, and like Dennis is very good at the game, and he's like catching these things with the football, and I say to him because I'm an idiot, I'm just like, Dennis, and he's like, yeah. I'm like, can I call you gloves? And Dennis goes like, no, you can't. And I'm just like, I'm just like, oh, okay, but if I'm a child, like I'm an infant, and I'm like,
I
oh,
sealed my fate by saying no.
exactly. And I said to him like, yeah, but if I call you gloves and you acknowledge it, that stands to reason that I can call you gloves within reason, right? And Dennis goes literally like, I guess, and I'm just like, okay.
Just
So like, I spend the whole intramural football game like trying to catch him off guard with just like, like, oh, hey, gloves, what do you think of this? And he like ignores me successfully like several times, and then eventually I say like, oh, gloves, like, what are your thoughts? And he responds, and I'm just like, aha.
and I knew it as soon as I said it too. Like literally, the light bulb in both our heads at the same time went off. Where you struck gold, and I'm just like, oh balls.
Oh man. Now, now here's where I really do want to start. The name of this show, which I fear I neglected to mention up till now, is the Corn Chronicles. The search continues, and I've mentioned, I think, in every show because I can't help it, that this show title is derivative of our college radio show. Where did you get that corn? And that name is obscure sounding to anyone who's not in the know. And I kind of wanted you to talk us through where that name of where did you get that corn from? Take us through those origins, man.
Oh God.
It's gonna be a long night, man.
The best worst story of all time. Uh, I don't remember how the conversation came up organically.
Right.
But we were talking about Live 8, I think. And it came up that while I was there, I saw this guy walking by with like the huge genetically like modified corn that's like this big, like orange grapefruit round size with kernels like that big.
Easy boy. What a delicious treat, right?
And literally the only thing I could do was let's just kind of point and say to the guy, where did you get that corn? Just because the sight of it just stunned,
sure.
amazed,
Yeah,
confused, all of the above in just like one emotion.
Surely Mother Nature has lost track of herself, you know? Oh.
And the best part was his response was like somewhere over there. It was like such an unfulfilling answer. Like had all these questions, and I just gotta like that way.
Do you not realize what you have in your hand? You have a grail of sorts.
Yeah.
One does not simply say somewhere over there.
Yeah, no. Like when you're rocking that vegetable that humongous for the world to see, like shout it from the mountaintop.
You better be prepared to back up where you got that.
Yeah. Cold hard facts.
Coordinates, baby. Oh man. No, we're picking up right where we left off. But so anyway, that's where the name came from. We had toyed around with some others. Dennis never found that corn, unfortunately, which is part of why my show is called The Search Continues. Also because it's kind of an epilogue for those special moments in my life that we're going to cover here tonight. Now, Dennis, stands to reason I already played the sentimental card. Just know that I mean it throughout. But just for the sake of brevity, some of the most treasured moments of my college career are in that studio, sitting next to you. I definitely want to touch on a couple of the radio show memories, certainly ask you any of yours that come to mind. But what I'll cautiously say was the first Where Did You Get That Corn memory was a little bit of that GD moment when Big Phil gave us a call after one of the songs you chose said "God damn" pretty spiritedly, we'll say.
Not just said, it was pronounced.
Yeah, there was a lot of soul in that, bro.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, exactly. Like even God was looking down, like usually that's in vain, but like we're gonna go ahead and set that commandment aside because that was deep, bro. I'm God and I feel that, you know?
Yeah.
Dennis, why don't you take me through your perspective of that kind of moment? Because you were the one who picked up the phone, which is something we'll get to, because every time you pick up the phone, it's pretty memorable.
Oh, God. I had the worst luck with the phone. The worst luck. But that one specifically.
We have a selection, yeah.
Yeah. God. Get the call from Phil. He's like, yeah, guys, they just said goddamn pretty loud, and you can't do that on the radio. And literally the moment while Phil is telling me we can't do that on radio, a second, goddamn, comes like
felt it.
Yeah.
And we reach a point where that second one happens and I'm lost. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm laughing, you know? But I'm also trying to say to Dennis, like, keep him talking so he doesn't hear it. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm trying to give Dennis like this signal rather. And eventually we get off the phone and it's lovely, but it wasn't the best first impression for our show, man.
Oh yeah, no, right off the bat.
So, Dennis, we touched on it a little bit just moments ago, but you had mentioned that almost kind of weirdly, I think maybe over the course of, we did our show for about 2.5 years, right? Something like
Yes.
that. And I think over the course of it, we only received about 6 or 7 calls. And because usually if people were really listening to the show, they would just shoot us a text or anything like that. Because a lot of it was our friends, you know. But it wasn't like a lot of community members were taking the time to reach out. Um, but what I will say, and you don't have to tell any of these stories if you don't want, you really don't. But I think of the 7 calls we received, Dennis picked up like 5 times. And each of the 5 times, like it was not a flattering thing being said about our show. Because a lot of our show was just like some really spacey kind of like it got some hippie kind of levels of just like we think this is funny and we're in our own kind of world a little bit, and I love that, you know.
Yep.
But certainly some people did not, and you can understand why it didn't, you know. Uh, but what I laugh at is, I swear to you, like I only picked up the phone twice, and both times I did, it was just like, oh, I love this song, or it's just like, hey, I like what you guys were just talking about, and we had a running gag that literally every time I picked up the phone, somebody was saying something nice, and every time Dennis picked up the phone, somebody was bombing on the show.
It was like at least there was a point I got like 3 in a row, I think. And then after that point, I just stopped picking up the phone. I'm like, I can't do it anymore. It's just bad luck. This is terrible.
Dude, and one of those times you got a bad call was, and I'm not making fun of this at all, because no, it's rough, man. Because admittedly, like the "Where did you get that corn" was kind of an aesthetic where we were there to entertain ourselves. Like, let's not.
Yep.
It's not like we set the bar for mass entertainment. You know what I'm saying? And you know that, you know. But at the same time, like it never feels good to like be shit on, you know. And one of the times, like you were feeling it, you know, and it was just like not a good call. And so we threw on this song to jam out to, and then right as the show itself, much less the song, was fading out, your whole laptop shut down. And
Oh,
I remember it's not even that this happened. What I will never forget is this. This is what sticks in my memory, and this is what's hilarious. Dennis literally Macaulay Culkins this shit, and he goes, "Oh no!" Like, and I'm like, what happened? Because it's not my laptop.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you just literally have Dennis, "Oh no!" Like, and then you have some cat like darts into the studio and he's like, "Dead air, guys, dead air."
Yeah.
I'm like, I know, bro. It's just like, we'll live, you know what
Yep.
I'm saying? And so we like scramble to get something up, and like we pop back on the microphone. But I will never forget this image, man. If I could get, I made "Where did you get that corn" T-shirts, man, which I cherish. I still have mine.
I still have mine as well. Do not worry about that.
My man, beautiful stuff. But if I could get the image of you like that on the actual, like that was probably more iconic in my life than you have any right to believe. That was such a splendid moment.
I don't know what led me to do it. Just at that precise moment, it just, I wasn't even thinking. It's just what happened. It was just pure instinct.
No doubt, man. No doubt. I mean, rest assured, I've had those moments too, but just it was lovely, man. It was lovely. Sometimes when stuff goes wrong, it makes for the best stories, man. It takes about 10 years to talk about it, but it makes for the best.
The scars have finally healed.
Yes, indeed.
After all that hate.
One show that kind of let us in every Saturday. We were on Saturdays 1 to 4 on WVYC. And the show that let us in was a show that spoke for the Hispanic community in York, which is great. called Radio Caliente.
Of course.
Uh, Dear friend and friend of the program, no doubt, but certainly I think it's fair to say the reason we had a show in the first place, Big Phil to Jesus. Because speaking of Hispanic names, you never heard of
Yeah,
that,
really.
you know. um, but anyway, uh, my point of bringing up that is they always had. Do you remember that one time? First of all, I want to hear you tell the story of Big Phil saying to Jesus. I would love to hear that. Secondly, do you remember that one particular time where like that studio was a very small space and Radio Caliente had probably at least 15 people in it and we were just watching them parade out, wondering when it was going to end? Talk me through those a little bit.
The one I remember much more clearly was them coming out like, so you could fit probably, I don't know, let's say 4 or 5 people like comfortably sitting in that room. It wasn't a very large room.
Not at all.
Yeah. And the way the desk was set up, like that took up a good chunk of space in the middle, so it was eating up some space.
Mm-hmm.
But just it looked crowded. Look through like the little window we could see. Like it looked like people. I'm like, oh, maybe like a band or something, and they're all just like gathering around the mic to talk, like for like an interview or something. But like all of a sudden it's one, and it's like you're counting sheep, like trying to fall asleep.
It was like that's a great analogy, man. We had like a clown car rolling on through, man. I mean,
Yeah.
uh,
I could not believe how many people they fit into that tiny room.
it was one of those things where, like, after it ended, I remember very distinctly asking Dennis. I said to him, "Oh my God,
Excuse my cat." Yep.
How many cats you got in that room, baby?
I only got one. That's my cat Flea, and he just hated every second of that.
Oh, what a sight, man! Good Lord.
Just getting it out of the way because he probably at some point he'll like walk across here.
Well, good, man. Now we won't be startled when it happens.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Come here, lay down.
Careful, man. Keep your head low. My God. I remember very distinctly after it happened. I said to Dennis, and I'm paraphrasing, but probably not. I said to him, I was like, "Did anyone go in that room twice?" And Dennis was like, "No, I don't think so." And I was like, "How many people did they have in that room?" And Dennis was like, "I wish I was counting."
Yes.
I get that, like, orally, that's kind of like cool story, bro. But like, I'm telling you, like, they had at least 12 people in this room that was not fit for 12 people. It was an absolutely surreal sight.
Yeah, not at all.
And then like we popped in and like we like looked both ways to make sure that it was clear that we started our show. What a splendid time.
Oh boy.
So one thing I want to touch on, and then I'm going to throw it to you. I feel like some of my stories about the radio show were kind of at your expense, but I do want to make sure that we kind of cover some of my lowlights there on the radio show as well. And one of them is my college career was very responsible. Like that, I definitely had some moments. Don't get me wrong. Like I was no prude in certain ways, but at the end of the day, like I was there to get an education, get a degree, and get a job. You know what I'm saying? That said, there was one particular day where, even though our show was at 1 p.m., I straight up overslept it, and I woke up at about 1:40. Even though I wasn't doing anything wild, like I was watching a West Coast NBA game. I'll never forget it, which I did all the time back then because freaking A, man, I lived with Denny. Denny's the man. But like we would watch every game we could, man. But I remember very distinctly waking up and I had like about 5 texts from Dennis and I remember booking it over to the radio station with my laptop in hand. And to this day, my family was always kind, and friends too, but my family is what's relevant here, in listening to the show. And sometimes I would ask my sister, like, what she thought about it, because she would listen to it every now and again. And she'd be like,
Hmm.
yeah, it was good, you know. But I mean, I love my sister so much. And I mean, she's my hero in a lot of ways. But like, we're not always going to connect on like our sense of humor and certainly not our taste of music. So like, a lot of what Noel said was just kind of like, yeah, that was good, and just like that was it. And probably the only time I heard her like start the conversation about our radio show instead of start the conversation about our radio show is when I showed up there and I was trying to like play it cool, like I just got there, but she said to me, I'm paraphrasing, but she's like, yeah, you can really tell you were out of breath. So apparently I'm there like, hey Dennis, like, yeah, cool, like we're just gonna set up, and she's cackling over the phone. And in a lot of ways, it was cool to hear, kind of her engaged in the show like that. Do you have any particular memories of that day?
So I just remember like starting the show off, and on days when I wasn't doing the music, me showing up a little bit later wasn't often, but it wasn't uncommon either. Me to be like 5-10 minutes late.
There's no prep. Yeah, you got
Yeah,
it.
exactly. But you were usually there fairly on time for the most part. Maybe once in a while you were a little late. Oh, I just caught up doing something, this or that, and whatever. But
Yep.
like, I'm like on there. I'm like, hey everybody, it's just me starting off. Polly's running a little late, so just gonna keep it brief and just keep the jams rolling while we wait for him and really get the show going. Play some music, go through a commercial break, not even realizing it, go through like a whole nother commercial break without even like going on and talking. And like by this point, it's I don't know 20 after 1:30 ish at some point. Sent you a couple texts at all. So you get there what like 2 ish maybe I don't know, you sprinted there, you got there in like
It was
lightning
pretty
time.
late. There was a reason
Yeah,
I was out of breath, man. It was pretty
yeah.
late.
I remember getting a call from you and then like literally like I think you beat it in under 10 minutes like sprinting there.
Yeah, I was moving.
Just yeah. So like I'm on the air thinking like all right, I'm going to just go on say like oh this literally like halfway in like just motoring in. I'm like oh he's here.
Yeah, we got that live entrance, baby boy.
Chronicled it all.
Oh boy, yes. I would love, man. If we could go back and have that soundbite, that would be gold.
Yeah.
I was breathing. I was definitely huffing and puffing.
Yeah, because you hopped right on the mic with didn't even like sit down before hopping on.
Hey, man. Well, that's the high regard. I got to protect the integrity of the show, man.
Of course, of course. Because leaving it to me, oh boy, you're in trouble then.
No, not at all, man. That's the open the door Richard section. You know?
I won't lie, I was debating about just having that playing as soon as we connected.
Richard, open the door. Oh man, too much. Too much. See, some of the stuff we can't just get into, man. We can't do it. We gotta let some stuff lie.
Inside joke, inside joke.
Yes, indeed. I think there are about 390 ways and different instances where I owe Dennis a sincere apology. But one of them, as it relates to the radio show, was the mile of Bayside.
Oh, God. Oh, that was a lot of Bayside.
So, man, oh man. We used to have to play, and I'm sure every college freaking does. I don't think we were special, but we used to have to play rotation songs, which were songs that had to be promoted, and we had to play like 9 of them a show. And sometimes, if your playlist was just like hodgepodge, hodge, no. But yeah, if your if your playlist was just like kind of go with the flow, you'd be like, yeah, whatever, man. Let's find something on um, gosh darn rotation that we really like, and we would jump around. And rest assured, some bands that I still treasure. I was listening to Wookie Foot not 2 days ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I really was, and that's a band that I haven't even heard from since. You know what I'm saying? Like without that
Yep.
radio show, there are, I would say, at least 8 bands that strictly because of WVYC and that rotation schedule that I'm into actively to this day. But anyway, sometimes when your playlist was loose, that's when you wanted to explore rotation and say, oh, what can we find? But then there were other days, speaking for myself, but I think both of us, where like the playlist that you have was like pristine, you know? And so you just kind of playing the rotation songs was like an annoyance. That might be a strong word, but it wasn't fun, you know? You just wanted to get them over with. And I had one of those days, and Bayside was on the rotation. And I'm not the biggest Bayside fan at all. To be honest, I'm not even any Bayside fan at all, with all due respect. But all of their songs were like 3 minutes tops. And so I literally said to Dennis, to my credit, I said to Dennis, like, hey, dude, sorry about this. I know it's not like coolest thing in the world to do, but like, I just want to get these over with. And so I literally play like 9 Bayside songs in a row.
Little did I know.
And, and dude, like Dennis can attest to his feelings, but like I talked about moments ago how the oh no was an iconic look. I remember on like Bayside song number 8, just looking over at Dennis, and Dennis is literally just like, and this is a dynamic show. This is some of the most fun I've ever had in college, is sitting next to this guy, just listening to music and pontificating on dumb stuff. You know what I'm saying? And we're there on Bayside song number 8, and Dennis is just like, you know,
I tried, but
I said to Dennis when we went back on the air, I said, dude, like, I want to, Years of Corn, I want to thank Dennis for his patience, because I know we went through a bit of a Bayside phase there. And Dennis says, and I quote, that was a mile of Bayside. Oh, dude. And he was so damn right. And man, his patience with that was top notch. Do you have anything to add to that at all? Because I know that I was doing it for a reason, but like you were just like an innocent bystander, and I'm sure that was pretty freaking agonizing.
So when you told me that, like, I'm just gonna knock out all the rotation songs, bang bang, one after the other, I'm like, yeah, cool, whatever. I thought it was our normal, like, hey, like, either go to like some ones we know that we liked and just kind of just like throw them all together. I did not expect to get an entire Bayside album.
If we did, we probably played the whole album.
I'm if at least most of it at the very
exactly, man.
Just and like, okay, it was like Bayside, then into Bayside. Okay, he's like doing back to back, whatever. Into the third one. Okay, it's starting to get a little suspicious. Yeah. The fourth one, just like, what is going on? And like, I don't want to say anything because it's your day to like do the playlist, so it's like your thing. I'm not here to like tell you what to do on your day, but just like, that was probably the closest I had ever been to being like, yo, this is not working. You gotta do something else.
Oh man, he's so right. Suspicious. Good God.
Oh yeah, and then literally, I do remember just being just like, this. What is going on right now?
Yo. I sucked the life out of him. It was all my fault. That is, rest assured. There are going to be some of you who hear this and be like, yo, no, it makes sense. Like, dude, like 9 3-minute songs, just crank it out. And like, no, I'm here to tell you that, like, no, it was a mistake.
To all the Bayside fans out there, good for you. I'm glad you enjoy their music and can do that, but I can't.
Not us, man.
I just can't.
Not on Where Did You Get That Corn?
Yeah.
So Dennis, man, Lord knows I have tons more notes here, okay, about times in the radio show and beyond. But dude, I want to throw it to you because that time in the radio show and certainly just our friendship, big picture, that's a two-way street, man. Are there any specific moments from the show? I admit that's where I'm at right now, but if you want to take it out of the radio station, by all means, I'm there with you. What kind of comes to mind of some of your treasured moments and memories there?
Uh, the first one that comes to mind are squirrels scurrying around.
Yeah, man.
So part of our daily break, or like our commercial breaks
Right.
for the radio show, we had to do like these like handwritten PSAs by like some of like the higher ups in the radio station.
You bet.
And like we had gone through like this is on like our first run through of the entire book, because there's like a book of like 30 of them maybe,
Exactly.
that you had to read them live on air, so it's not like you just hit play and just like forget about it.
Right.
And
Live
do you
PSA.
remember do you remember what the PSA was for?
I think it was about learning.
Yeah, it was like some like outdoor learning like class or something maybe, or
Because
science, or
another
they were talking.
another line was about ramps because I remember that distinctly too.
It was like birds in trees, squirrels scurrying around, and like this was some grade A, top-notch cheesy writing.
Yes, indeed. Yes,
And like whoever wrote this, bless them, because I hope they knew exactly what they were doing,
indeed.
and not just doing that with a like straight face. Like, yeah, oh my god, squirrels, ramps, birds. This is going to be such a scientific learning class.
Squirrels, ramps. Man, there are so many T-shirts I want to make right now.
But
Oh,
like the first time you just like hitting it, and then as soon as you hit squirrels scurrying around, because you lost it I think like once or twice in the middle, just like, I gotta stop, this is just, I can't believe what I'm reading right now.
yeah, sight reading those things was not always the best idea.
Yeah. So yeah, as soon as squirrels scurrying around, you just lost it. Like he was gone for like 2-3 minutes of laughter. Like
It wasn't good.
I get the like, I'm done. Just like, nope, you got to do it. I get the tap out signal from him after about like 50.
I'm trying to hand him the thing, and I'm trying to hand him the little booklet that has the thing. And one thing about me, man, is when I'm truly laughing hard, it's silent. You know what I'm saying? So it sounds like dead air. And like if you see me, I'm literally just like, I look like freaking Fozzie Bear going like, you know, but like that's me laughing hard. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't necessarily have like a ah, ha, 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 ha. Like I'm literally just like, you know, like that's me. And so like it's essentially dead air, and I'm trying to like hand signal Dennis, who's laughing in his own right because I'm
Yep.
like a freaking horse's ass. And I'm trying to fling him this book, and he's trying to get through it too. Baby boy, what a PSA. That tripped us up a couple of times, man.
Oh God. And then having you try to roll your R's for that one.
Yeah, I couldn't always roll my R's. Now I kind of can. I went through a phase where I couldn't roll my R's at all, and then I went through a phase where I could roll my R's, but I can only do it when I was like, I don't want to say shouting, but I couldn't like subtly roll my R's. You know, if I was in a library, I couldn't roll my R's. We'll leave it at that. And by now it's not so bad. But like you talk about the things you learn in college, it was definitely me not being able to roll my R's certainly comes to mind. Baby boy, wow, I forgot all about that.
Squirrels running around.
Dude, look at you, man. You're a friggin' gem. Look at
Oh
that.
yeah. It's one of my 3 talents, including rolling my tongue as a U and whistling.
Right on. Well, dude, those are some 3 great talents, man. I think you got plenty of talent.
Yeah.
One of your talents is playing basketball, man. I know playing ball with you was always a pleasure.
Yeah, that was a good time.
We used to get together as part of Team Sprocket Pancake Capitulation. And in year number 2, we were no game scheduled, which claimed the victim, man.
It worked. It worked.
And dude, man, I'm not. I'm only human. I try to be the bigger person about a lot of things like this, but like that was one of the few things where it was like, hey guys, listen to me. You know, like that was a poly idea, man. That one was. And so,
I was going for inclement weather, but you didn't take my advice.
right. So I noticed during year 1 that when the teams didn't have a game, it would say no game scheduled. So I said for year 2, we would just call our team no game scheduled. And lo and behold, we get to our first game, and the opposing team does not show up. And it is about, I've had some low key athletic highlights. You know what I'm saying? I really have. Like I said, anything but baseball. I don't have depth perception for baseball. I can't play that. But other than that, like I'm a low key athlete. Dennis can attest to that. But that was about as close as like a Rudy moment that it's ever been in my life. You know what I'm saying, man? Like just people like, oh my god, I can't believe it worked. Man, we had and I still have it's actually on the other side of this computer. I still have Matt Day's email hanging up on my wall that says like, gentlemen, please be advised. You know, shoot. If I had better eyes, I could read it to you. But gentlemen, please be advised that no game scheduled is the name of a team. If you see this on your schedule, it means you have a game. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it's just a printout, but I have that hanging on my wall.
Either way,
a lot of treasured memories, man.
it really is chronicled. It's there.
Man, it was a highlight because you know what it was, dude. Like, I'm not even. This is not why I like it. It's not why I love it. I love it because it worked and it was a great time with my friends. But I think part of the reason it has stuck with me the way it has is that was the only time where, like, I don't want to say the whole campus was talking about it, but it was. I went there for 4 years, and they're the best 4 years of my life in a lot of ways. But every now and again, you would hear people talking about Rhapsody, and you would just be like, huh, cool, you know? That was the only time where there would be complete strangers, and I heard them talking like, hey, did you hear about that intramural basketball team that got screwed out of their $50 because of the team name? And like, I never said a word because I'm not that guy, you know, but it was a really it was a cool moment to kind of be like a shadow in the background of just like, it was the first time where like the whole campus was engaged and it was something that I did, you know, and there's a little vanity to that, I guess, but it's not like I was trying to capitalize on it. It was very cool, man. I treasure that. I really.
And we had choir with one of the kids who played on the team, so we got to talk to him about it the next day.
Yeah.
Just his reaction. Wait, that's your team name? Damn, man, you got us.
And they let him keep their $50, so that took all guilt away, man. Like,
yeah, I know.
As far as I'm concerned with that, like, yeah.
I don't know about the rest of the team, but the guy who was in choir with us laughed about it.
Yeah, you bet, man. No, actually, I saw him in the lunchroom, whatever it was called. What are those called? Dining
Cafeteria.
Hall. There you go, dining hall.
Yeah.
Right on. I saw him like a couple of days later, and I saw him sitting with a bunch of dudes, and I had to assume that a couple of them were on the team. And I just went up and I said, like, hey, man, I'm sorry about that. Did they let you keep your money? And they're like, yeah, they did. No big deal. And so we buried the hatchet there. That was a really special time.
Yeah.
Man, so good. So one of the unsung heroes of our radio show was a dear friend of ours. First of all, before we get into who I wanted to talk about, I think Big Phil deserves a ton of the credit, man. I don't think either one of us would be doing what we did with that radio station without Big Phil's guidance and support. You know, I can think of very few better dudes in the world. Really a guy who would give you the shirt off his back, and I know I owe him a lot by all means. Um, that said, one of the unsung heroes of the Where Did You Get That Corn broadcast was Mr. Ryan Dunn.
Oh, done.
And one of the very treasured memories of having Dunn in the studio, which was rare but always enjoyable, was Charles Oakley.
Oh, Charles Oakley. Oh boy.
Yeah, we had a little unintentional Charles Oakley Brett Amaker mashup.
Charles Oakley. Charles Oakley. Charles Oakley.
So, as if you even needed to know it. And I swear to God, this is only my second beer, man. But like, I really do, But like, we were a freaking weird bunch. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a reason that people were calling and saying to Dennis, like, "Hey, man, I don't like this,"
I didn't blame them, but the fact that they took the time to dial the number, listen to the number like multiple times, because they did not have that on speed dial. No way. If they did, then fine, they deserve it.
Right.
But you took the time to listen to me say the number multiple times, dial it in, and then call us to tell us, nah, you guys suck.
Yeah.
That is some effort.
You know what it is? Like, it wasn't even, and I don't want to speak for you, but like, it's not like we didn't suck, man. But we were very good. We were very good, but it was just so like, it was so self-entertaining. You know
Absolutely.
what I'm saying? That's what it was. I don't think anything about it was not well done. It's not like we had dead air. It's not like we were like, but it was just very much like literally we had a moment, and we don't even have to tell the rest of the story. We had a moment where we had this song we liked, and we were just like saying Charles Oakley in the background of it because we thought it was freaking hilarious, which it was. And we're trying to tell Ryan Dunn, who's got the biggest heart in the world. We're trying to tell Ryan that he should go on air and say Charles Oakley in the background of this song, which is so fucking bizarre. Like there's no reason to do that. Like that's not normal, and borderline that's not sane. But like for some reason we have in our head just like, yeah, dude, like just go live and say Charles Oakley. And so Dunn is all about it. Yeah. He is. Because we're jamming, we're having fun, And so Dennis hits like the mic to go live for Dunn to like do this Charles Oakley jam that we're doing, which I couldn't tell you where that came from, but we were doing it.
Neither could I.
But when you hit the mics live, like the radio goes very quiet so that people can hear you. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't have the music play loud and also be heard, And so one of the funniest things that I treasure is Ryan Dunn is all about doing this Charles Oakley thing that we're doing in the background anyway because we're weird sons of guns. And suddenly Dennis hits the mic and says like, "Go ahead," and Dunn can't hear it anymore, and so he doesn't know what to do. And he's trying to tell Dennis he's trying to like pantomime to Dennis that it's broken. And Dennis and I are trying to pantomime to Dunn, just like, "Nah, dude, like that's what it is. You have to go," And eventually, like you just hear Dunn with like half the confidence that he was doing before. He's just like, "Charles Oakley." Just like with no confidence at all. Like imagine, I swear to God, like I guess this is a little dark and I apologize, but I don't apologize. Like imagine somebody like held a gun to your head and said like, "Yo, you got to say Charles Oakley right now." Like that's how Dunn was saying this name, just like with full fright and just like, what the hell am I doing? Just saying Charles Oakley in the background. I will never forget that for as long as I live. Because one, it was hilarious. 2, it was weird. 3, he was so freaking uncomfortable.
I
And
know.
it was, it was absolutely, and that's where I'm not a nice guy because honestly, like I fucking loved it. You know, like I'm sure he might have like really deep recessed like nightmares about that to this day. And gosh darn, like I'm gonna eat that up like a Greek salad before dinner. I love it. Um, Another one of my favorite memories is okay, we're gonna get here. We're not gonna talk about the big picture yet. We're not. But one of Dennis's general thoughts was on jorts.
Oh God.
Can you can you kind of talk us through, because that was a weird little day because we weren't in the studio that day. Can you talk us through the jorts day a little bit?
The Jorts Day. That was that our first like live show or like out of studio show?
First out of studio show. We might have
Yeah,
done 2 over the course of our time there, but that was the first one for sure.
yeah, yeah. That was our first one. Um, oh boy, everything about that was bad. Like we had a lot of fun, but just like the setup, like getting everything running, like
Yeah, there were some hurdles. Yeah.
yeah, from the beginning, we thought we could play our music from the input where we were set up. We couldn't. We had to have someone back in the studio because every time we tried to play a song off the laptop or iPod, it just came through like so garbled.
Yeah.
It's like you could barely even hear it.
Indeed.
And like Phil's there and like he finds this out. So then he goes like full power sprint back to the studio to like just go back to like just the general overnight playlist that just runs while no one's there.
Right.
Okay, then
Then
finally we get that figured out, and it's was it a scavenger hunt that like all of like 6 people showed up for?
yeah, no doubt.
And not that that was a bad thing, but like our first live show was a scavenger hunt
Hmm.
for where did you get that corn?
Right.
Not like, oh, we're here at like fall like celebration or whatever, like on a cool like outside thing. Yeah, we're here for this scavenger hunt.
And it's not a scavenger hunt that we came up with. We could have made people search for a Charles Oakley jersey if we were, you know, like we could have turned it
Ugh,
into our thing, but no, unfortunately,
absolutely.
we were a little handcuffed.
Yeah. So then finally gets everything up and running, and the Dennis's general thoughts of the day comes up,
A highlight.
and yeah, it of every show or low light, depending on who's listening.
Yeah.
Jean shorts or jorts for short
Indeed.
came up, and I think my exact words, yeah, I'm not a fan. I don't like them.
Oh boy.
And
Man.
then, without us realizing, Phil, who's back on the studio, hops on. What's wrong with jean shorts? Phil, are you wearing jean shorts right now? I am wearing jean shorts right now.
Dude, which is like the most unintentional way to like stab your friend in the back, you know? And there's nobody who deserves nice things more than Phil. Nobody deserves full jeans. No, no.
But
Indeed, man. Oh, dude, I'll never forget that, man. Talking about biting the hand that feeds you.
yeah, no.
Oh. Man, you know what? I wanted to get to it later, but we're just gonna jump to it right now. Dennis's general thoughts was
A train wreck?
yeah, probably the most polarizing aspect of our show because I look back on it so fondly, and I'm sure that Dennis looked back on it not as fondly. Um, but Dennis's general thoughts was a segment of our show where once a week we had our weekly show. I would come up with a random topic that Dennis would not know about beforehand, and I would ask him his thoughts on a general topic. And those topics ranged from the functions of a plant cell. Like I said, we're weird sons of guns.
Yeah.
If y'all didn't know, like it was really engaging. Like I made some cool friends through that show, and a lot of people listened, but like it was weird.
I mean, if they haven't gotten it by now in watching this, then it's too late for them.
Yeah, let's go ahead and underline that just in case.
Yeah.
Just in case the highlight wasn't enough.
Yeah.
The functions of a plant cell, the African apartheid, women in the workplace, jorts, and again, and my goal. Sometimes they were very like those four weird ones pop out of my mind because like now it's been a decade. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes they were like really. They weren't always like out to get Dennis. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes they were really straightforward, like pizza toppings. You know, like I'm sure that was one of them at one point.
Only 2/3 of them were out to get Dennis.
Indeed, yeah. Or the Watch and Clock Museum and all the.
Yeah, the watching. I guess it's time to go to the Watch and Clock Museum.
We love the Watch and Clock Museum. Here, where did you get that cord? Man.
We should have gotten them to sponsor us. How much free promotion we did in corny puns.
Man. We probably paid each of their salaries for 3 months. Man. I have no doubt, man. I have no doubt. We had a following. We had the ears of Corin. They had a name.
I'd like to think at least one person randomly listening to us was like, yeah, I should go check out the Watch and Clock Museum.
Yeah, we'll make time for that as we pick up our pocket watches. But anyway, so it was very much to kind of just mess with Dennis and keep him on his toes. And sometimes I would ask something and Dennis would be like, oh no. And other times it'd be like, oh, like I love to talk about this. But Dennis, I want to hear your thoughts on that. But I also want to kind of lay the foundation for where this segment came from. And this segment came from a very simple and cherished Dr. Seuss book.
Yep.
Called Yertle the Turtle. Now, just so you know where I'm coming from, we are at a point in one of our early shows where Dennis and I are still in our early going, so we don't really map our shows out in advance. And I don't think we ever reached a point where it was too formal. But especially in those days, it was very much like we'll play music until we think of something we want to talk about, you know? And Dennis, 100%, his idea is, hey, I have the Red Hot Chili Peppers song, Yertle the Turtle, all set to go. Why don't we hop on and talk about Yertle the Turtle? And I say to Dennis, of course, man. That sounds like a lot of fun. I have not read Yertle the Turtle, but, or at the time. Because to be honest, man, like after that, like I Googled it immediately. You know what I'm saying? Like after what occurred.
Yep.
But because it's Dennis's idea and Dennis wants to talk about it, I naturally assume that just like, oh, okay, Dennis can carry the Yertle the Turtle part, and I can go ahead and nod and agree and talk about the many Dr. Seuss books that I have read, like Horton Hears a Who, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and Red Fish, Blue Fish. I don't think I'm saying that name entirely, but I assure you I've read it. But in my mind, that Dennis can carry the Yertle the Turtle part, and then we can turn it into something else, which is very much the nature of radio, and very much the nature of our dynamic, not only as a radio show, but as friends, you know? So we come up back, and I say to the public, hey, we wanted to talk about, and this is probably show number 3. So when I say the public, we're probably talking about like each of our parents and like whoever just happens to have it on.
If we were lucky, if they figured out how to get onto the log on.
Indeed, yes, exactly. And rest assured, man, like I just shit on it right now, but like by the end, like we had a follow. I promise you we did. I had a lot of people from high school bring up each of my shows that I had no idea were listening for as long as they did. And your buddy Adam is probably the biggest fan of Where Did You Get That Corn outside of anyone blood related.
Yeah, for some reason.
Yeah, isn't it something? Baby?
I know.
But anyway, how's he doing? He's all right?
He's good. I was actually on a video call with him earlier today to celebrate the holiday with a whole bunch of people.
No doubt. Today is 420. I'm not that guy, and I'm not even saying that because my parents are probably watching, but I definitely, especially nowadays, 420 in 2020 is something that you want to find ways to pass the time any way you can. So I wish anyone and everyone a happy holiday, man. I'm glad Adam's doing well. But
I would like to go back to that topic later.
Okay.
Because I have mountains upon mountains of information to talk of.
Okay. Fair enough, man.
I get at least one.
So I bring up to Dennis just like, oh, okay, and we'd like to talk about Yertle the Turtle. And I have nothing to talk about because I haven't read it. And I say to Dennis, and I quote, and at this point it's not a segment yet, it's just what naturally comes out of my mouth. I'm like, Dennis, do you have any general thoughts on Yertle the Turtle? And Dennis says, pretty much, and I quote, like, yeah, I liked it, you know?
He seems like a good guy.
So neither one of us has read this book, and so immediately, like, that's not going to float with me. So we're live on the air, and I say to him, I'm like, wait, have you not read it? And he's just like, no, I haven't read it. I'm just like, well, I haven't read it. And so I swear to God it wasn't an argument. I swear to God it wasn't an argument, but it was like a really quick, it's like, what the hell are you doing, man? Like, like we're live on the air, and you say you want to talk about something. You haven't read what you want to talk about? He's like, I thought you read it. I'm like, no, I haven't read it. And so we had a very awkward exchange.
Yeah.
Quickly cut to more music, and
well, from my perspective, it was the song came on. I'm like, oh yeah, I assumed like we could like at least bullshit some type of conversation together about it, and like I wasn't even dead set on it. It was like, oh, you want to talk about Yertle the Turtle? It was more like a question, not like let's do it. In my mind, that's the thing. It was more like, yeah, how about this?
Oh, dude. Yeah, so needless to say, the Yertle the Turtle discussion never really happened in earnest, and
it crashed before it even took off.
Baby boy, that made the Hindenburg look like a really successful undertaking. But anyway, from that point on, I made it a point to show how secretly vengeful I am. It's like, okay, from now on, our new segment is me putting you on the spot in the way you put me on the spot. So we spent 2.5 years of me picking some random subjects for Dennis to touch on. Some of the better ones were with Jade in the room. I gotta give
Oh boy, yeah.
Yeah.
Because she was an easy target, that's why.
I gotta tell you, man, bear with me real quick. This has almost nothing to do with Dennis. One of my favorite memories of Where Did You Get That Corn is one of the times I created the playlist. And I said, okay, coming up next we have an Amos Lee song. And Jade says from her microphone, she's like, oh, I love Amos Lee. And do you remember this at all? I'm just wondering.
It's not. Keep going. I'll see if it.
Fair enough, because this was the hardest I've ever laughed. Probably in that studio in my life. I say, up next we have an Amos Lee song. And Jade says, oh, I love Amos Lee. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'd like to dedicate this song to Jade. And she's like, oh, she gets all excited. And I'm like, this song is called Soul Suckers. And she literally goes, hey! Like as I'm hitting like play to like go, and you know, I talked about my sister's like favorite moment. Like that was a moment where like my dad didn't even wait till after the show Like my dad was just like, that was great. Which for my dad might as well have been, like a novel. You know what I'm saying? For him to like take the time to just like text me like that. Oh man, splendid stuff, and a lot of love for Jade too. Don't get me wrong. A lot of treasured memories with Jade. But that was pretty special by all means. Dennis, I'm going to go ahead and say a name, and you can share with me your general thoughts. And I do have one more general thoughts segment I want to do before kind of we call it quit. But if I were to say Nick B from Lights Out, what pops to mind? Oh, I got him.
I don't want to I didn't want to say anything because I had so many different ways I could go with that. I think the first one that came to mind was, welcome to Lights Out with Nick B. I am Nick B from Lights Out.
Yes, man. Yes. And I feel like that says it all. He was just this guy who had a radio show, man. And for all I know, he's the nicest guy in the world. We didn't know him that well. But every now and again, people who were had majors more geared towards radio, which I did not, Dennis did not, would have to come in and do like news readings. And Nick came in and he did his news reading in very much kind of the tone that we're talking in right now. And then at the end of his reading, which happened like once every 2 weeks with various people in whatever program they were in, he jumped in and said like, okay, I'm going to do an impression right now. So, and the news closed in this way. And hey, if you like what you hear, make sure to tune into Lights Out with Nick B, Saturdays at, and it was just like this really stark contrast of just like, whoa, and I just remember Dennis and I both being like, like what the hell's going on, and yeah, man. And what I have to say was very funny is one, that like that's pretty distinctive. But number two, it was very much kind of an instance of a radio personality dictating real personality. Like you would try to like talk to him outside of the context of the radio show, and it would still be like him in kind of that character, and it would just kind of be like, well, okay, man, like I guess we're not really going to talk today, but definitely a really splendid time. And what I'll never forget is one time you and I going to see Dave Matthews Band in Camden, which can be its own separate podcast. We can't jump into everything. But I remember Big Phil shoots you a text that says, like, guess who I just saw at Firefly? And Big Phil says, and that quote, he says, I just saw Nick B from Lights Out. Do you have anything to add? I just, anyone who's listening, like, I get that that's a shitty story, man. Like, like, what the hell are you supposed to glean from that? And the truth is nothing, man. I just wanted to freaking say Nick B from Lights Out. This is on the same freaking Zoom call,
I think it was just so perfect because we were together when I got that text.
Yeah.
Like, it couldn't have happened any other way.
Like, not at all.
Yeah.
It was so beautiful. And for Big Phil, especially, because he wasn't even there in the room when he jumped into his spiel, you know what I'm saying? Like for Big Phil to approach it like that.
Because Phil also had to deal with him as like the GM though, so he knew exactly what we were talking about.
Yeah. It was just, just imagine someone, and rest assured, man, if you got us on the radio, like there are, I don't want to call it a character, but like there are certain things about yourself that you turn up to 11. You know what I'm saying? Like I get that. But like it was just like talking to him like you never left it. I said to Charnel the other day that one of the things I loved about her is like when we were on the stage, we wanted the stage, but when we left the stage, we didn't want it, you know. And Nick B from Lights Out was a guy who, like, even when he wasn't on the stage or on the air, like, wanted to be on the stage or on the air, and it made for some pretty interesting kind of talk. But we'll leave it at that. I'm sure he's a lovely dude. You know, I certainly don't have anything inherently negative to say about him, and he deserves nothing but success. But I do remember him. He's one of those people that you definitely just look back on and say, like, yeah, that was a character, you know?
Weren't we joking about that one time on air while he was sitting in the waiting room
He
to
might have
do
been.
his PSA?
We might have been. Yeah, a little bit. Because that might have been the time. You know what it was too? He also, like, I never got involved with the site. I promise you that. I'm not even saying that for anybody's benefit. But he also, like, got really sucked into, like, he got like a little thing.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Yes.
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 Look at his face. Yeah.
Yes.
No doubt. So, like, Nick D from Lights Out got got like a little, which was a website, and I swear to God, the only reason I know it is Rhapsody did my acapella group, not my acapella group. Please, I'm not that vain. But the acapella group of your college, of which I was president. No. Had a Clue themed show concert, and so I said to anyone that I was going to be Colonel Mustard, and so I said to everyone who was listening to the show, like, I will be checking Like a Little tonight. If you would like to make any Colonel Mustard themed overtures, you know, we'll say, I will be keeping an eye on them. And I don't think anyone did, if we're being honest about it, as much as that makes for a cruddy story. But that's the only reason I know about the site, is because that's the only time where I was literally just, like, punching in information to, like, try and find, like, York, PA, York College, you know. But yeah, Nick B from Lights Out got like a positive review on Like a Little.
I think it was like you just left like a random like description of the person in the place you saw them.
Yes.
And I think they might have even used like Lights Out.
Yes. Yes. So Nick B gets this positive review. I'm going to keep calling it a review. It's not a review. I don't know. But I don't know what else to call it. But he gets this positive feedback. And he talks to us about it. But it's like the site is like a missed connections kind of thing. And the site is almost like a current day, like, and I swear to God, I swear on a stack of Bibles, I never did it for more than 2 weeks at a time, but it's like a modern day, like, Tinder. You know what I'm saying? Like, just because somebody like swipes right on you doesn't mean that it's like you're in a relationship.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like, I feel like I'm bombing on him now, and I really don't mean it like that. But like, I just remember, like, he had this positive, Like a Little review or feedback, and like he told us about it, which I guess I wouldn't be immune to. It's not so much that he told us about it. Like, if somebody said, like, hey man, like, there's a guy in this blue hat with a Bobcat shirt on that I think is really attractive, I would be like, hey Dennis, somebody thinks I'm really attractive.
Yes.
You know, and Dennis would say, like, good for you, dude. And then that was the end of the talk. You know what I'm saying? But he was like intent on like finding this girl. Like, that's what was weird. He was just like, so now I just gotta figure out who it is, and then we'll connect, and then we'll go on a date, and then like the next thing will happen. And it's just kind of like, in my mind, it's just like, yeah, dude, like, somebody just said, like, you look good. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not,
Yep.
if they really wanted to like get to know you, they would like stop you because they saw you and say, like, hey, let's go to lunch. I just never forget that. I don't. But bottom line, what a character, man. It was to the point where Dennis took. I graduated a semester earlier than you.
Yeah.
And
I was a super senior for a semester.
You bet, man. And it was to the point where I wanted Dennis to take our time slot as a solo show, and we were considering two names. One was, I say we, but it was his show. What a domineering jerk I must have been. But honestly, like I'm not. I owe you so much. I owe you an apology. But at the time, I thought like, oh, okay, like the name should be either Nick B from Lights Out
Or Lights Out with Nick B.
or Open the Door Richard. Like I think those were the ones we were
Yeah.
talking about. But yeah, bottom line, I feel really bad about what we just talked about because I feel like it sounds like we're bombing on him. We're not. He was just a character. And if anything, I owe him a sincere debt of gratitude for just being that memorable for that short of a
Yeah. Do you remember who else we found on Like a Little in that like 2-week spurt with us talking to him about it?
Folgers, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you remembered. We called him Folgers.
Baby boy, man. Yo, Bill Hornberger is the nicest dude in the world. He really is just like this gentle lion of a man. And he used to live in Willow Hall, which is right next to Laurel Hall, where I live. And we used to see him every day with a cup of every day with a cup of coffee and a cigarette, with his sleeveless shirt, just smoking, drinking his coffee, and just like the man was just cool, man. The man is freaking John Wayne. You know what I'm saying? And you know he's John Wayne. Like, dude, I love my favorite. Baby boy, this could be a whole separate podcast.
I know.
my affinity for Bill Folgers Hornberger.
Yeah.
And
the man could shred on guitar. Shred.
The man was a legend.
Yeah.
Now, my favorite Bill memory is once you got to know him, he was such a gentle dude, you know?
Yeah.
But what I will say is he told me a story one time about somebody who wore a Duquesne shirt, and somebody walked up to him. He might have been wearing it, or his friend was wearing it, whatever the hell. Bottom line, someone's wearing a Duquesne shirt, and somebody comes up to that person in a Duquesne shirt and says, "Hey, what does Duquesnes mean?" and Bill says, who looks like he could kill you, but he's such a nice dude. He says, "It means you're done talking." Mic drop indeed.
Oh,
we just got nothing but salt to throw in those fresh wounds that Bill just created, man. Dude, insane. I will never forget that for as long as I live. And like, I remember hearing that, and I was just like, "That's Bill. That's Bill. I get it now." And he also accidentally spoiled the surprise when my solo show won show of the semester. He's like, "Congratulations!" And I'm just like, "On what?" And he goes, "Shit." I'll never forget that either. Oh, dude. So, man, we got to keep it moving, dude. It's amazing, dude. This one's running long, but I'm having such a good time.
Yeah, no, this is good.
Ooh. All right. Speeding up, one of my favorite, where did you get that corn memory? And I think, since we brought him up, I think Adam's favorite memory is when we tried to spend the whole show coming up with things my dad could say in his halftime interview. Dennis, I'm not even going to put you on the spot and make you run the story. My dad used to coach at a very successful, mind you, but a junior college here in Suffolk County, Suffolk Community College, two-time national champ under his watch. Go Dad, love you. But they were playing one particular game where they were going to be streaming it. And so my mom and dad were kind enough to listen to both shows. And so Dennis and I tried to come up with code words that my dad could say when they interviewed him at halftime to like acknowledge the show. And for the life of me, I don't remember like the ones that we didn't choose, but I do remember that we settled up on what he should say is, "We need a lot of can of corn buckets." and which was brilliant, man. Which was so beautiful, man. And that's what I'm saying. Like at the end of the day, like it was an intelligent show. Like it was a freaking weird ass show, but like baby boy, man, like we were quick. We knew what was up. You know, it was not your hippie shit. Um, so bottom line, we spent the whole show coming up with cool little code words, and with all my heart, I wish I could remember more because I'm telling you, we spent 3 hours coming up with code
That
words.
that was the whole show.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I think we did like a quick general thoughts, but like even then, it was just like, yeah, Dennis, real quick, what do you think about this? Dennis
Yeah.
was like, I like it, and I'm just like, cool, okay,
All
thanks.
right, back to the real important stuff.
Exactly, dude. It's what we did, and it was one of the best shows we ever did. But bottom line, we came up with can of corn buckets, and I remember I was sitting in the York College library just because of the timing of the thing, but it was a Saturday night, and so like I was literally pretty much alone in the York College library because he was in the library at like 9 p.m. on a Saturday, and I'm listening to this halftime interview, and my dad, I love him, I owe him the world, but like my dad doesn't say the damn line. And so as soon as he doesn't say the damn line, I just close the internet. I was just like, F it, I'm done, you know?
X just closed the top of the lid.
Exactly.
Sigh.
Because that was 3 hours. We tried, man. Like
I know.
that was legitimate. Oh man, do you remember any of those other phrases by chance? I don't.
No, I don't.
Amazing.
I
Dude.
know. That's the word. I wish we could.
Dude, it was probably the most thought that ever went into any of our shows. And man, what a special time. But at the same time, all right. Dennis and I also saw a lot of concerts together. This is not our last story. We got one more after this. But Dennis and I, a lot of mutual appreciation for music, a lot of similar tastes in music. Probably the only musician that has ever outlasted us, though, is one Keller Williams.
Oh God, yeah, that was one of the longest shows I think either of us have ever been to.
I want to hear your thoughts on this. This is not one of those ones where I want to tell my side and then consider it done. But like, I have a lot of affection for Keller Williams, and I have a lot of affection for the way Ryan Dunn was like really excited to see him. And I spent a lot of time after college living in Lancaster where we saw Keller Williams. But and to be honest, I just had my buddy Zach on the show the other week, and he was literally talking about how when we go to Mountain Jam, like I could stand in one spot for like 10 hours at a time, and just like the only exception to that rule is that Keller Williams show. We went to see them at the Lizard Lounge in Lancaster, PA, and something about the way he was playing, I don't know if Dennis and I were dancing too hard too early, and I don't know if it was just like the nature of his songs kind of one bleeding into the other, where it's just like not as talented as it is, like not as diverse as it could sound. Like Dennis and I just ran out of gas, and we wound up just trying, kind of saying to Dunn, just like, "Hey man, we gotta go, dude." Like,
I think
kind of your thoughts on that, man.
I think that was was that almost like a 5-hour show?
I don't think it was that long. It might have felt that way, but I think we were there for like over 3, and like there was no signs of stopping. And I think it was more that there were no signs of stopping, that we were just like, I don't know what to do, man. We gotta get out of here.
I mean, all 3 of us were very excited to show, and I do not regret any decisions about going to that show. It was a very good show. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah.
But I think because he did the first set like the normal jam band hour and a half, hour 45-minute first set, takes like the 20-minute break, comes out for the second one. I think that second set was at least 2 hours.
It might have been. It was long. That is not me leaving a show. It's the only time this has ever happened in my life. As simple as that, man. Nothing about this is exaggerated.
And I don't know what it was. Just I don't know if it just
Dennis, give me a quick second. I'm so sorry, man. One moment.
Yeah.
I wish I could pause it. Give me one second. No, not me, man. Okay, we good? All right. Cool. So that happened.
Excellent. Sweet York chair, by the way.
Don't talk about it. I don't know if the statute of limitations ever really runs out, but yeah.
Yeah, that one, I don't know if it's like, because like we had changed levels like a bunch of times, going from like the second to the third floor a few times. Like we could not get on the ground floor. It was shoulder to shoulder packed.
Yes.
And like I just don't know what it was. Like if it just there were like I don't remember it even like breaks in between the songs. It was just like continuous song after song after song after song.
And you know what it is too? Like I don't think I think we just got so to our credit, like I think we were so excited to be there that we danced our hearts out.
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh no, like I've already danced my heart out. I don't have a heart left, you know? And you still play, you know.
And yeah, I don't know what it was about that show. I think that's the only show I've ever tapped out. And not to brag or anything, but I saw Humphreys McGee from 2 a.m. till sunup once.
Indeed. Yes. Was that the Steely Dan show?
No, that was Bonnaroo actually.
Okay.
Yeah, they had the late night set and played from like 2 till sunup.
Baby boy. And I did that with Lettuce, to be fair, at Mountain Jam.
Yeah.
Baby boy. Anyway, Keller Williams, man, a tip of the cap to you. You outlasted both Dennis and I, man. You caught us on a rough day, I guess.
Yeah, that does not happen very often.
Baby boy. Amazing. I'm 31 years old and I'm still going to shows and I'm still having the time of my life. That was the only time we saw no more than a year ago. We saw Joe Russo's Almost Dead together, man.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and they play a long show.
You bet, dude. And we loved it. We wanted more of it by the time
they were killing it.
Baby boy. But something about Keller Williams, man. Something about that particular show.
Yeah, just knocked me out.
Tremendous stuff. Dennis, here's the story I want to end it with. Okay.
All right.
I want to talk about time we went to sing at the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C.
Oh boy, one of my.
Why don't you take me through just that time in your life, man?
That time in my life. Oh boy. Was it suit or tuxedo we had to wear? It was suit, wasn't it?
Bottom line, it didn't fit, baby.
Well, no. It's either way. I didn't have either one with me. That's the thing.
Right.
But I had completely forgotten, like during the break before, to come back with my suit, and like we had known about this for choir. Like we had this big event that we're gonna sing at the National Cathedral for a whole bunch of people. Like it'll be really cool. Like it's America's cathedral. It's our national cathedral. So like awesome, yeah, that'll be great. My dumbass completely forgets to bring my suit back from home when I come back, because the break was like a week or two before the trip.
Mm-hmm.
So as we have talked about, our other friend Phil, whose nickname then was Big Phil.
Then and now.
Yeah.
He hasn't gotten smaller.
That's true. That's very true. But Phil's like 6'7", 6'8". Like he is a big dude.
He's a man with man, yeah.
And I'm living with him and our other friend Ryan Dunn, who is smaller than me, so I can't borrow his suit.
Right.
So there's only one option, our friend Phil's suit. And when I put this on, like I literally looked like one of those babies, like trying to disguise themselves in a suit that are like standing on two other babies. That's how this thing was swimming on me.
And Dennis has that baby face, man. Like I'm just,
Yeah, I didn't have the beard then, so like, yeah, I looked like I was like 16.
Dennis literally looks like the Gerber baby, you know, man.
And
It's so good.
oh, it gets better though. It gets
Yeah,
better.
I know it.
To top it off, I didn't have any black dress. I didn't have any dress shoes, black shoes, nothing. So I realized that the only pair of black shoes I had were my black basketball shoes.
And what kind of
Specific,
basketball shoes were those?
specifically Starberries.
Steve Madden's own Starberries.
Yep.
Oh,
So I went to sing at the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C. in a suit that was about 10 sizes too big.
he was using bobby pins to keep it up. I'll never forget the bobby
Yeah,
pins.
I thought it was paper clips. I had to do like paper clips or something to roll up the pants so I wasn't stepping on the bottom of them and like ruining it for Phil, because this was Phil's suit. I couldn't fuck it up.
You bet. Exactly. Oh.
And
And
yeah,
to be honest, I'm not even being facetious, man. Like I think calling Big Phil like 6'7" is a disservice. Like I think he might be like 6'9", you know, like he's a tall dude, man.
yeah, he is tall.
He's a big man. Oh,
So yeah, luckily that Darth Vader gargoyle was helping me stay like not as the weirdest thing in there.
that's right. They had a door. Oh, that's right. Oh, good
Yep.
call, dude. Oh,
I've never forgotten that. As soon as they told us that, I'm like, that is great.
yeah. Oh, legendary, man. Ah, sweet. So, I mean, seeing Dennis in that getup is something that I'll never forget. Um, Gosh darn, I remember saying to him very distinctly, uh, probably to the point of rudeness, which is again like reason number 900 why I owe Dennis an apology. I said to him, I was like, yo, dude, you realize you might be the first person in the world to ever wear Starberries in the National Cathedral? And of course, Dennis being Dennis, he's like, cool, man, what a cool thing to be like known for, you know? Like I hope so, you know. Incredible stuff.
You just notice how most of the stories were, I remember this time Dennis did this. I remember this time Dennis did that. I remember this time Dennis did something else.
All right. Well, fair enough, man. Okay. We touched on my mile of Bayside and me oversleeping something at 1 in the afternoon, which is embarrassing.
Oh,
Now, we do have one more moment where I completely, I don't want to say it was out of line, but like where I play the fool. I remember being at a party with Dennis one time, and I don't remember the context. I do remember, I don't think it was the same night. I don't. But the night Blake Griffin jumped over a car for the dunk contest, I think that was probably one of the most impaired nights I've ever had. And like I don't think I was out of line by any stretch, but that was one of the few moments where I was just like, you know, the next day I was just like, oh, okay, I remember exactly where I was every step of the way, but I don't remember exactly what I was doing. But I do remember one time being at a party with Dennis, and I don't remember the context, but I remember Dennis made it a point to walk me home from this party. And the whole time we're talking, and it's not, you know, Dennis is not like helping me, you know, up or anything like that. Like there's nothing to it. And for the record, I'm over 21 because we're living off campus. It is what it is. And I remember saying to Dennis pretty much the whole way, I was just like, hey, man, like, this is really kind of you, but I think I'm all right. Like, you live that way and we're walking this way. I think we're good. You don't have to do this. And Dennis is being a great friend. And he's saying, like, no, man, I got you. Like, we're okay. And we make it back to my house without incident, man. Like, just two dudes sharing the night, enjoying the conversation, and then we get to my house. And so we get to my place, and I say to Dennis, like, as one last time, I'm just like, hey, dude, good night. Thanks for the walk, I guess. I don't think you have to do that, but I think, you know, like, I appreciate it, man. It was great talking to you, great spending some time with you. And Dennis says, like, yeah, cool, my pleasure. Dude, if Dennis is behind me, okay, I'm talking to Dennis and I'm saying, okay, like, thank you. I appreciate it. You know, I'll see you later. and then I turn back this way, and I take like one step, and I go like right into the wall, like right into the wall, and just like loud thud and everything, and just like I remember, and then like that happened, and I turned to Dennis. I was like, "Yeah, thanks for walking me back."
Yeah, that was not a straight walk home.
Oh boy, yeah, dude,
There's,
I'll never forget it.
there's some zigging and zagging going on there.
It sure didn't feel like it, but
Yeah,
boy, oh
of
boy,
course it didn't for you.
yeah, yeah, dude. I don't see why we did that. But then, like, right,
I think it was more just the realization of just like, oh, now he gets it. Thank
yeah,
you.
exactly. Yeah, that had to be a great feeling. By all means. Oh, Dennis, man, I'll tell you what, dude. I'm gonna ask you this last question, but like I already say this, like knowing in a couple months I'm gonna have you on again, man, because I had the time of my life. Is there anything else you wanted to make sure to cover tonight?
Uh, the only one that comes to mind is a relevant holiday story with this holiday going on currently. But I don't know
Okay,
if this is the time or place.
you can, because I don't really partake of the holiday that's going on today, so I don't think I have many stories to.
You have one. You have
Oh,
one.
is it the legs? Yeah. Okay. All right.
Let's just say we were having fun that night.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Well, let it just be known that it's pretty bizarre how much longer your legs are than your arms.
Clearly, it's like mountains.
It's like mountains, man.
Your hands are on your knees, looking down at your feet. No, your hands are so much further than your feet because you were on your knees, looking down your legs, saying it was like mountains.
Like mountains, man. To me, that sounds really wise.
He was sitting on top of the mountain, just like, yes, making this declaration, just at pure peace with himself. Yep, it's mountains.
Mountains indeed. Baby boy. Happy holiday, my brother. So Dennis, man, we're gonna have you on in about a month. I know that I said it at the beginning, but like I said, I think a lot of the doors that I've opened in my life have been because of working with you and just kind of having the time of my life just being myself. And I don't know if I ever would have crossed that threshold for myself if it weren't for having you to share and all that with. And I think, sharing that with you means the world to me. And I think you've done more for me than you have any idea. And I think this is probably the longest podcast to date, and we've touched on just a fraction of what we
5% maybe.
I know, and dude, I just want to thank you so much for spending time with me and some of the best memories of my life, man. I think I owe you the world, and I'm really so very blessed that we can sit down together 10 years later and reflect on these. You mean the world to me, and I really appreciate that.
I appreciate that. I'm glad to come on the show. I will happily come on any other time. You know it. And, glad to have a friend like you.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
I was gonna give you one more general thought and just say, what did you think of me? But I
you would have gotten such a better answer. So, I mean,
Dennis's general thoughts on Tom Policastro.
it would have been so different. So different. It would have been so much more entertaining.
Nah, man. We'll do that. We'll do that some other time. Just know you mean the world to me, Dennis. I'm gonna say goodbye right now. But in terms of turning off the recording, can I get a where did you get that corn sign off? I want to say that for the purposes of people watching this, this has been the Corn Chronicles. The search continues with very much the originator of this very name, Dennis Madden, the illustrious gloves. But Dennis, I would love, for old time's sake, can you give me a "Where did you get that corn?" sign off, and we'll end the broadcast in that way.
I can. Gotta bring in the moment.
You did it. Squirrel scurrying.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to thank you so much for joining us here on Where Did You Get That Corn? Yeah. Oh God.
Oh no!
Can we restart?
Right.
Can we restart?
Yes. Oh no! Please. All right. Please. It's been well over 10 years. We're
Yeah,
okay. He's rusty. He's rusty. Please. The ears of corn. They're waiting. They're here.
I know. The ears of corn. Oh God, I forgot about that. That was our groupies, the ears of corn.
You bet, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Where Did You Get That Corn on 99.7 WVYC. Stay tuned for Lights Out with Nick B, starring Nick B from Lights Out. I have been Dennis. This has been my co-host, Polly. We have hoped you had a great night tonight. Please join us again next week. Same time, same place. WVYC.